Welcome back to the This Day podcast, where we connect real life, real people, and real stories. Tune in to a brand new episode happening right now. Make sure you click the links in our descriptions to find out more about our sponsors and resources where you can dive in deeper to your faith journey. And now, dive in to today's episode. Well, Caroline, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. I have read your devotional. I've been a fan of yours from a distance, and it's so excited to have you
Oh,
on.
thank you
Um,
so much for having me. I'm so excited to
absolutely,
be here.
absolutely. So for people that maybe are a new friend of yours or a new friend of the podcast, share a little bit about who you are and what you're
Yeah.
about.
So, I guess, firstly, hi, I'm Caroline Shankle. I am currently living in College Station, Texas. I graduated from Texas A&M in May of 25, and I am now getting my master's degree. I wrote a book called The Lion and the Bear, a 100-day devotional for young women. And I just really have a heart for younger girls. I feel like that's just, I really want to encourage and build up women. I can go around, I can speak sometimes. And yeah, that's kind of who I am. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm like, this is me.
I love it. Okay, so you wrote this book, 100-day devotional for teen girls. Take us through the
Yes,
process on that. That is such a fun lane. It's a unique lane. Not a lot of
yes,
people that are your age are doing stuff like that. So
definitely.
take us behind the scenes a little bit.
For sure. It's kind of a lot. It might, I'll give you the long winded version of it a little bit.
Go
But
for it.
starting out, my mom is also an author and she was wanting to write a book and it's out now. It's called Here Be Dragons. We really like the animal theme. I don't know what happened there, but that's just how it was. But her book is basically about a little bit about breaking generational cycles and how her mother was her first mean girl and kind of handling mean girls a little bit. And a lot of it also came from my sophomore year of high school. I went through a lot of just mean girls and bullying, being excluded, and some really hard times. And I remember she was asking, like, is it okay if I write about it? I don't know. And I told her, I want you to write about it. Then I also just kind of offered, hey, do you want me to maybe add a few little blurbs in there from my point of view, just so moms know kind of what I was going through at that time because I am still a little bit younger. She's like, "Oh, I'll definitely bring that up." And she was changing publishing houses, and she was going out and proposing the book to different people. And she went to two different ones. She was in between two, and one of them came back and was like, hey, we want that book, but also can Caroline do this devotional? And she was like, Caroline's a junior in college. She can't, she's a little bit busy right now. That's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
But so that was kind of that. And this would have been in 2023. And then one of the editors came back and she was like, hey, we'd still love to FaceTime or Zoom call with Caroline just to talk to her. And so my mom was like, okay, yeah, sounds good. And about that time, this was December of 2 years ago, about that same time, I went through a terrible breakup. I mean, I got my heart broken. And it was just that first thing where like all these plans I had just completely fell through. And I was just going through it. And then literally 6 days later, I had the Zoom call. And I think I was in a hoodie. I probably still had like chocolate on it, some chocolate stains. And,
Yeah.
they were like, this is a big, like, could you do this? Like, how would you do this? And I was like, well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I think that's legitimately what I told them.
That's great.
And then at the end of it, we started talking and like, they were like, how about a 100-day devotional? I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And they were like, okay, we'll get you a contract in February. And then the call ended and I was like, oh my gosh, that just happened. And I remember my mom looked at me and she's like, are you sure you want to do this? And like, I know I was teary and I was like, I think this is what I'm meant to do. Like, it makes sense. Like, God just had me at such a place of surrender where I was like, if this is what is needed, then I want to be this voice and I want to do this. But yeah,
That's incredible. That
that
is
was
so
very
cool.
long winded. So sorry for that long story. But
No, I love
mm-hmm,
it. I love it. But so you basically like you did this with your whole life ahead of you. Like
mm-hmm,
nothing was really charted out. You were just like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. Like a hard
mm-hmm,
situation, end it, and
mm-hmm,
I'm just gonna step into this new thing.
yeah.
Um, what, how did you even like get started writing this book? Was it just, a like just spurred on from your hard breakup situation, or how did it start?
I think the writing, so it honestly started probably actually before the breakup a little bit. It like when talking about me writing and kind of how that began was one of my roommates and family friends. It was her 18th birthday. She's a little bit younger than me, and her mom was like, "Oh, we're like giving her letters from all of her friends, and we were wondering if you could write one and just a little bit about freshman year of college and what it's like and all these different things." So I kind of just sat down one night and was like, "Oh, let me write out this letter about your
Yeah.
freshman year and, some little things you're going to encounter and all this stuff." And I remember my mom looked at me and she was like, "I'm so sorry to break this to you, but you're a writer. Like, you can write. Like, you have the gift." And I was like, oh no. But it started with that. And I kind of worked off of that a little bit when it came down to actually writing the devotional. But a lot of it was just almost like journaling my own feelings. Like, I would feel something a certain day and I was like, what verse is helping me right now? What am I working through right now? What is God speaking to me, and how can I write this down and articulate it in a way that it'll help other people understand this feeling and understand maybe some encouragement within it. So that was
Yeah.
kind of the process a little bit.
Wow. Okay, so your mom, she was right there with you during this whole
Yes.
process. What was it like
Yes.
to do a project with your mom? I feel like mother-daughter relationships are so special and so
Mm-hmm.
unique versus any other friendship and relationship we have in life. So what was that like for you?
It was really cool to get to kind of step into that world a little bit and have that common ground and that thing that we can share, just because she started writing when I was in third grade, so I'd always seen her in that process and I kind of knew
Yeah.
what it looked like for someone to go through that process, but I didn't have the empathy of like, oh, I know this feeling. And so it was interesting stepping into that and getting to see how our brains work differently, but also how they complement each other. So I think a lot of it is I would write a day or a devotional and I would kind of send it over to her and I'd be like, okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? She's almost like one of my editors in a way, where she would kind of give me her opinion on, oh, I think this is really good. And oh, this sounds really good and this sounds like you. And there's even little things that I would write and I would look at our writing styles and I'd be like, oh my gosh, you could tell she raised me because this is very similar. I'm like, oh my gosh. But it was really cool and I think it made us a lot closer also during that time.
That's great. That's funny though to look at your guys' writing styles and be like, these are the same. Like we
Mm-hmm.
are related.
We
Uh,
are in fact related. We spend a
we
lot of time together.
we are relatives.
Mm-hmm.
The book talks about just facing your fears,
Mm-hmm.
walking people through, just how to bravely tackle their fears.
Yeah.
Um, how have you personally related to that, walking through facing fears in life?
Man, I think what I've learned in my 22 years is, and especially being in my 20s, is life is full of unknowns,
Yeah.
and I think we really like to think at some points that we have some semblance of control, and usually we don't, and that's kind of a scary thing, especially for my personality. I love a plan. I love working through things. And so having to kind of step out and realize the only thing I can control right now is my attitude and my relationship with God. But hey, thank goodness I have him because he is in control and he is providing for me and he is going before me in every aspect of my life. And he has already walked this path. He has prepared it for me before I even face it. And I think it's going into situations knowing that when I'm fearful or when I'm worried, is just knowing that my God knows what's best for me and he wants the best for me, and having faith in knowing that, and then just kind of facing those fears. And I think it even went into like the breakup like that I had to go through during that time of I had to choose to walk away from something I really, really cared about. And I had to choose to be strong in that and heal in a healthy way and not a bitter way or a resentful way or try to put a band-aid on it. And I think that was really hard to have to face my feelings and work through that. But it was also just sitting there knowing that God has delivered me before and he's going to again. And I feel like that was the ongoing message throughout the devotional. I tried to just reiterate is God is preparing you for something more. There is something great ahead. Like, have hope for the future and know that your God is for you. And so I think like practicing that and implementing it every day is something that, I mean, I need to hear that today, like it's kind
Yeah.
of just a daily thing. But yeah.
No, that's so good. And to even say that, is in your 20s, right? Like those are just such hard years. And I don't think you realize it until you're walking those out where you're like, oh my goodness, all of these decisions are coming at me and I'm so young and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's just such a good perspective to have to not rely on fear, but
Yeah.
rely on the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
um, to walk that out.
Yeah.
Um, so props to you for figuring that out sooner as a 22-year-old rather than later in life.
Now I've figured it out. Can I implement it? Can I emotionally do that? That's what we're
Yeah.
working on right now.
Either way, like just props, girl.
Thank you.
So one thing we ask everybody that comes on the podcast is what
Mm-hmm.
is keeping you present? What's keeping you focused and grounded in today? Because so much comes at our attention. So what's keeping you focused? What's keeping you centered in the current day that we're living in?
Man, that's a good question. Uh, I think this answer is probably going to be a little bit cliche, but I really do think for me, my faith in just God is really what's keeping me centered and keeping me grounded. And it goes into just kind of what we talked about of all these unknowns and everything is just all over the place, and social media is coming at you left and right. And I think I really try to be focused and present in what's around me and what I can do now. I might not be able to control what's happening in a different country or even what's happening, in a city a few miles away, but I can control how I care for people and how I show them Christ's love. I can control my attitude and I can control my mindset in that. And I think just being around family and friends and people who are building you up, and honesty. I think that's a big thing for me of just keeping me grounded is just always trying to live in truth and in love. In a world that I think it's so easy to put on a filter or, completely change your personality for social media or do something like that. I think just being genuine and honest is so important in order to stay grounded in who you are.
Absolutely. Okay, so how have you seen social media, especially for people that are around your age, how have you seen it
Mm-hmm.
kind of affect them and them try to like turn to
Yeah.
be more socially relevant? Does that make
Yes,
sense?
that makes sense. Yes, definitely. I always say with my generation, it's really interesting because I would say my age is probably the last age to remember a time without iPhones.
Yeah.
Um, and I say we kind of grew up in the wild west of the internet a little bit. No one really knew the ramifications of it. No one really knew how it worked. Like the adults didn't know how it worked. And so it's just, you never know what you were going to see as a kid on the internet. And everyone was figuring it out. And I think it's hard because it leads to so much pressure and so much comparison. I think the biggest thing I've seen is comparison and just I feel like something I have to constantly tell myself is like comparison is the thief of joy and like constantly comparing yourself to someone else is taking away your own joy and who
Yeah.
you are. And I think it's left my generation very anxious to try to
Mhm.
conform or to try to do a certain thing. There's a lot of pressure to get it right on the first try, get the best job you can. I mean, I even look at this younger generation. I mean, a few years ago, there's a trend where they were going into Sephora and buying retinol and all these crazy beauty products that a 10-year-old does not need. But because a 20-year-old, 22-year-old influencer told them to go buy it, they're going to go buy it.
Yeah.
And I think it really just, it just causes a lot of anxiety for my generation. And I think that's kind of what I've seen. And especially in high school, I remember there were so many times where it was a Friday night, I didn't have plans. I would look on Snapchat maps and I would see like all my friends hanging out, or I would see like an Instagram post of everyone hanging out and I'm not there, or just something like that, where instead of maybe not hearing about it or hearing about it a few weeks later after the fact, like you're in lifetime you're seeing yourself being excluded and you're seeing all these things happening without you. And I think it just creates such a level of I need to catch up, I need to catch up, I need to go do this. And it's caused a lot of I don't know, it's just caused a lot of I mean I said this earlier, it's just caused a lot of anxiety for my
Yeah.
generation, I think. And it's put a lot of pressure on us.
It's like the FOMO, right? Like the fear of missing
Yes.
out.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
just kind of heightens, like when you're
Mhm.
5 years old and you don't have a phone,
Mhm.
you don't really know what you're missing out on, right? Like you're just like,
Exactly.
oh, I'll just go hang out with my like dolls. Um,
Yes.
but as you get older, you realize, oh, like I'm missing out on all of these different
Mhm.
things, whether it's like high
I need
school.
this hair product. I need this, water bottle, and I need this thing. Yeah, no, it's a whole situation.
All the different things. Well, you are for
Mhm.
sure leading a charge for young girls, women that come behind you, even women that are probably ahead of you that can learn from what you are writing and saying. So continue the good work that you're doing. How can people keep up with you though? How can people hear what's coming next for you?
I wish I could say like, oh, TikTok and Snapchat and all these things, but just Instagram. Just my name, Caroline Shankle, at Caroline Shankle on Instagram. And then my book. Those are the two ways that you can keep up with me and see what's happening in my life.
I love it. Well, that's easy enough, and people should definitely check you out. Check out your book. We'll link them in the show description. Caroline, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been so
Thank you
fun.
so much for having me. I've loved this conversation.